Hi, welcome. My name is Rachel. I'm a homeschool mom of 4 boys ages 10 to 20. Yes, I've graduated a couple, and this is our 15th year homeschooling. And this school year, I have a 5th grader and a 10th grader, and we are using Heart of Dakota Curriculum, and that is what I want to talk about today, and maybe hopefully encourage you, maybe answer a few questions if you are thinking about Heart of Dakota, or maybe you're in the midst of it and you're a little bit overwhelmed. Now, if you are using Heart of Dakota, please link below and share with us what years you're using and how is it going. But I'm also going to link below a video that I have done that mentions all the books that we have used over the years and how our journey went, because it's been a long journey for us and we haven't used it every year, but I want to say that we've at least used one guide for the last about 10 years. So I do want to mention that. Sort of mention first where we started, and I probably have said this several times in different videos, but our first guide ever when I first discovered Heart of Dakota was Preparing Hearts for His Glory, which I used for my 4th grader and 6th grader. Yes, I combined it, and I did use some of the extensions. My 6th grader probably used about half of the extension books, and I actually have a video on Preparing Hearts for His Glory, the extensions, if you're interested. I will also link that below. But that was a great year. It was exactly what I was looking for in history and in science and living books, just the way the Christian worldview it had and the way Christ was the center. And it was just really a good year for us. And up to that point, I have always combined my children. And I do want to mention that because I do understand those who want it combined. And I don't think I would have traded those years of combining. I really enjoyed them. And so that's why I want to mention a couple thoughts, a couple ideas that might help you with the elementary years, the guides. There's no independent work. You're there with them the whole time. I used Little Hands for His Glory one year. Now, I did not use any of the other guides until Preparing Hearts for His Glory. So I think there's 4 other guides before that, and they're for like preschool, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. What I always encourage, if you are brand new to homeschooling, that I think it would be a wonderful curriculum. I do wish I would have known about it when my boys were little, but I do know that in those younger years, the most important thing is to work on their reading, writing, and arithmetic. That is your goal, because once they've learned those things, they really can become more independent. But there's also the living books, the joy of learning. A lot of times I learned with my youngest that interest-led can be amazing. And really, when my boys were younger and we were combining, we used particular, like we used Beautiful Feet. We used Considering God's Creation for Science. If they had questions about anything, we would expand on it. We didn't sit there and follow the curriculum to a T. And I think that's the important thing with any curriculum, even with Heart of Dakota, especially when the kids are younger, because you may be teaching them something about history or science, and they might understand it, but if they have a question, it's okay to break off and go to the library and get some books and talk about that for a couple days, or maybe just as an extra. My boys learned so much more than I would have taught them just by reading books. That may have been an interest. I had one that was interested in rocks, so we picked up a lot of books about rocks. And just by him breezing through them, and they weren't hard books, they were easy, but he learned a lot and could talk about it. And with history, or maybe somebody in history or science, just getting them the books and letting them read through them, you'd be amazed how much they learn that you realize, how did you learn that? I would ask my boys, how did you know that? And they would be like, I read about it. I remember watching some history movies about a war or battle with my boys. And this was several years ago. They were all still in school. And my second one was like telling me what was going to happen and all of this stuff. And I was like, how do you know that? And he was like, I read about it. It wasn't anything I taught them. So Parents, I feel like, worry about what if they miss something? What if I don't teach that? They will learn it if you teach them and have the love for learning. They will learn what they need to learn. I think God has a plan for each child, and He's given you as the parent for a reason. They're going to learn what they need to learn. So I just want to encourage you with those words as you're looking at this curriculum and trying to decide how many guides can I handle. That is the most important thing. So let's look at the younger guides. In the younger guides, you're going to have 5 days a week. You're going to have your language arts, your math, which your language arts obviously will be phonics, learning to read in the early years. And then you're going to have some extras. You're going to have some history, some science, some read alouds, Bible, which I do feel is very important. I just want to encourage you, if you start to feel overwhelmed, stay on top of what is necessary. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and yes, I do believe Bible is very important. Stay on top of those. If you don't get the craft done, if you don't read the poetry, if you don't get the music done, if you can get them to do their core subjects and teaching them to read, you have accomplished so much. And you don't need to be overwhelmed if you didn't get every box checked off. Just turn the page and it'll be okay. I just want to encourage you with that, because sometimes we can get stuck in that one spot and feel like we have to finish it all before we can turn the page. And if your child is ready to move on in his core subjects, move forward. Don't even look at all the extras. Not every parent and not every family is going to be like that. I love crafts. We did a lot more when they were in elementary. We did a lot of notebooking pages, but I do know that it can become overwhelming, and really it wasn't a craft that we were told what to do. It was more of what we were interested in doing. So you have that personality. I guess I just want to encourage you that it's okay. You don't have to do everything that the guide tells you to do. So that is for the elementary guide. Now, when we start going into what they would call the middle guides or the middle school guides, which I feel like Preparing Hearts for His Glory is sort of the transition into the middle guides, because it does start out with 4 days a week. There's not a lot of independent work, but there is some. I want to encourage you the same direction. The first year we did it, we did probably a majority of it. But I had 2 boys doing the same guide, and I had a first grader. And guess what? My first grader was just doing reading, writing, and arithmetic and hanging out with us with the read alouds and the crafts, whatever he could do. I also had a baby. So we were working through all that. But it was a great year, and I did what I could do. And that was the one guide I did that year. And if I would have had another one, he would have just joined in also. As long as they were doing the language arts, the math, the reading at their level. And even my 6th grader, even though he was doing preparing, was doing his level of math and his level of language arts. He was independent in those areas. So, and then in the middle school guides, which I am starting this school year, which is Creation to Christ, it's a little bit more independence. And I feel like as they step up to that, if they continue in the guides, I can see how it works. When I first started out this guide, now remember, my son did Heart of Dakota last year. Last year was his first year. This is my youngest. I have 4 boys, so this is my youngest. But it was my 3rd time going through Preparing for His Hearts, because I combined the first 2 boys. And then my second one did it. So this would have been my 3rd time going through it. And so that was his first year. This is his 2nd book, Creation to Christ. And so we're working on more independence this school year. He is doing great. He's really actually enjoying this book. My goal was to try to do as much as possible, and we're trying, but I am focused on the core, and I'm focused on the history, and more so the science, since he has hit middle school. But the science in this book is independent. And I want to encourage you, if this is your first year doing an older guide, and they're sort of like stepping back thinking, whoa, do a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks if you have to with them when it says independent. And that's what we did with the science. But he can almost read it and just do it himself now, which is very helpful. And the reading about history is also independent, but we have been doing that together and the story time. He does his Bible quiet time together, which is reading the Bible. There's independent history study down at the bottom here, and he can do that on his own. And math, we're actually using Matthew C. We're not using the math or the language arts that they suggest. And that's the nice thing about it, Heart of Dakota, is you can pick and choose. So if you are coming into this and you have an older student and they're doing fine with their math curriculum, don't feel like you have to change to use theirs. Maybe staying with a familiar subject to your student might be helpful if it's working for them. If it's not working for them, sure, try what Heart of Dakota offers. I've heard great things about their math and their language arts, but we had already settled into those subjects that were working for us, so we kept those. So I just want to encourage you with those thoughts when choosing a guide. But I do want to also mention, I know it's hard because I do like to follow history in the order that it is, creation till now. But they do have a placement chart, and I do really suggest that you look through that and be sure your student is ready. If you have to, start a little bit younger instead of, especially if this is a new curriculum and they're not used to it. A lot of the books and a lot of the curriculum that they offer, you could even go online to their websites and sort of breeze through that curriculum itself. They usually give free samples or a week of samples that you could check out to see, is this something, and maybe even the math, I'm not sure. Maybe it even has like placement testing. So those are just some ideas to help you decide, help you through a guide if you feel overwhelmed. Like we were doing the poetry and art, which in my heart, that's what I want to do, but we haven't done it in several weeks. But we're moving forward. It's okay. That's not the priority of his schoolwork right now. We are getting the Bible done and the independent study. I was trying to think if there was anything else that we were not absolutely doing. The history project. And all of that stuff that we don't get done is artsy. But I have to remember, my boy is outside and he is like taking wood and building and being creative. It's okay. It's okay that I'm not getting every little thing done in here. He's still a kid. He's still outside. He's still playing. He's still building. He's got some chickens this year. He's working with that. But he's learning so much that it's okay if I don't get those little extra boxes. It's just the core in history and science. So wanted to share those thoughts with you. Now into high school. They have high school guides. This is the first middle school guide, and they do get harder. I want to say next year, I am familiar with Resurrection and Reformation, and it's one of my favorite guides. But I'm like, it's deep, but I think it'll be good. I think it's amazing how much a child will grow over a school year. Even my son from last year to this, wow, yeah, he was totally ready for this, and I wouldn't have thought that he would be so independent in this. So another thought I want to give you is that when you're looking, maybe you're thinking, maybe you're not using this school year, Heart of Dakota, and you're thinking about it for next year. Maybe it's for second grader, or maybe it's for a fifth grader. And you're looking at the placement thinking, oh, they'll be right here. Wait until closer to the end of the school year before you look at that placement, because they'll expand and grow in their knowledge over just a few months. It's amazing, kids when they're younger, how much they learn and how much they progress through the school year. So just want to encourage you right there. I know if you're a planner, you want to know now, but with our kids, we need to be patient, see where they're at when the time comes. So just want to encourage you with those words. But with high school, we use the first year of high school history, which is world geography. We use that 3 times. And this school year is our first time using the U.S. History 1 and it's going well. But the high school histories are mostly independent. They have a few S's, which is pretty much just the parent checking the work, but everything is very independent. But again, when I chose this, I chose it just for the history. We're doing the history and the government. We're not doing anything else in here. We're not even doing the science, the math. Now, last year when we did world geography, we did a majority of it. We did do the science, and they have logic in that year, and the history and the geography. But I really wanted a U.S. history, and Heart of Dakota has such good book selections. It amazes me how Carrie who is the author of Heart of Dakota, has found these books and just tied them all together. I just know that had to be a lot of work, a lot of knowledge, and I've just been so encouraged by all the choices that she has. We picked this for the history. He is not actually even doing the living library. We wanted it just for the history, and we also are using their government, which is going well. And I'll talk about all this probably in another week or two. I'll give you an update. Not believe we're on week 10 of school already, but this is going well. So this, each year, another box will become, you'll get more independence, more independence. I don't know, I have detailed videos on this particular curriculum, and I'll list it below. On all the I's are for independent, your Bible quiet time, story time has teacher, Bible study has teacher, poetry is independent. But even I did that with my son. Like I said, if you're new to this program, make sure you walk them through it, especially if they're new to being independent, because it is something that takes some learning, especially if they haven't even done anything like this. This was like an art and painting, and that was just something he was not real familiar with. But it was fun, and I'm hoping to do some more of it soon. And then the language arts and the math, which is semi-independent. But this is the very first middle school guide. There's 3 more. So by the time they're done with middle school, they're ready for the independence of high school. So I do want to share that with you. And one thing I want you to keep in mind too, each child will be different on that independence. My oldest was a very audio-visual. He did much better hearing and seeing. So I probably did a lot more reading than maybe I should have. But when I did like the living books or read aloud, that was sort of my book for all my boys. And I mentioned that in choosing which book for Heart of Dakota. But that worked best for our family at the time. My second one, he didn't want to wait to be read to. He just wanted to read the books. So keep that in mind with any curriculum, that each kid is going to be different, and what is a good fit for them, and what books will they enjoy. Like I said, we have enjoyed all the books from Heart of Dakota, all the living books, all the history books, and so I want to encourage you with just how she's tied all the living books in with the history and even the science, especially in the younger years. I know last year with preparing, it was amazing how the science just correlated with the history. So I want to share all my thoughts about that. I hope I encouraged you if you're looking into this curriculum, or maybe you're using this curriculum and you're just sort of overwhelmed. I know a lot of people wonder, well, how many guides can you use at one time? And I want to say that's truly, truly up to you. Now, if this is your first time looking into Heart of Dakota, let me encourage you with this one thought. Try one guide first, and I would try it for the older student. That would be me. I'm not sure if that's what they would suggest, but I will tell you why, because I truly believe if you just do the older student guide, work through that with them, and just focus on the reading, writing, and arithmetic with your younger children for that year. And maybe you could do some add-ons, or maybe they could sit with the read alouds, or any of it really. Like I said, when I was preparing, my first grader was just sitting there listening in. Maybe I would print off a color sheet that had to do with what we were talking about. So they are still learning so much just listening in. So, all right, if you have any questions, please link them below. I would love to talk to you about this, or if you are using this curriculum, we would love to hear from you and how it is going, or if you have any questions. And I really do appreciate you all watching this video. If you like homeschool content, please hit that subscribe button. That would encourage me so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you.